Are you someone who writes off manifesting as just a trendy woo-woo buzzword, or maybe you're like insanely curious about it but completely overwhelmed by how to actually do it?
I mean, it is everywhere right now, so it's super common.
Totally. Well, welcome to your custom deep dive. Today we're unpacking Roxie Nafousi's book, Manifest: 7 Steps to Living Your Best Life.
And our mission today is really to bridge the gap between that sort of mystical philosophy and, hard neuroscience.
Right, because it's not magic.
Exactly. We're going to show you how to author your own reality, not by wishing upon a star, but by using the actual biological mechanics of your brain.
To really understand how this works, we have to look at Roxie Nafousi's own radical transformation.
Yeah.
Because picture this. It's May 2018.
Okay.
Roxie's 27. She has no job, no direction, and she is battling a decade-long depression and a serious addiction.
Wow.
Yeah. And she hits absolute rock bottom right after returning from a month-long yoga retreat in Thailand.
You'd think that would fix it, right?
You would. She did 200 hours of yoga, meditation, clean eating, the whole 9 yards. Yet within 24 hours of being back in London, she is back in the exact same toxic cycle of drinking and drugs.
She hits a point of just complete hopelessness.
Exactly. And then a friend recommends a podcast about manifesting. She ends up listening to it while sitting in a salon, getting her nails painted like candy-colored pink.
Such a specific, normal moment.
Right. But that single audio program shifts something fundamental in her approach to her own life.
And this is where the timeline gets wild.
It really does. Fast forward exactly 1 year to the day from when she first put those principles into practice. June 7th, 2019.
Just 365 days later.
Right. Roxie has a thriving career. She has cultivated genuine, unconditional self-love, and she gives birth to a baby boy named Wolf with Wade Briggs.
Who's an Australian actor she randomly connected with on a dating app called Raya.
Yeah, her entire life flipped from a tragedy to a triumph in 1 year.
It sounds like a fairy tale, honestly. But as she breaks down in her book, it is actually just applied neuroscience and physics.
Which is crazy to think about.
It is. Because before you can figure out what you want to manifest, you need to understand how the brain processes reality. We have to decode the blueprint.
Okay, so the source material dives into quantum physics, specifically the idea that everything is energy with a vibrational frequency. And the law of attraction dictates that like attracts like.
High-frequency vibrations attract high-frequency vibrations.
Right, but I think we need to ground that in some explain it like I'm 5 terms, because it can sound a bit esoteric to a lot of people.
Yeah, well, let's strip away the mystical language for a second. At a subatomic level, absolutely everything in the universe is made of atoms.
Sure.
And atoms are constantly in motion.
Yep.
So everything is vibrating energy. But if we move from the quantum level to the biological level, we hit neuroplasticity.
And the brain's internal filtering system.
Exactly.
Yep.
Nafousi references Dr. Tara Swartz's book, The Source, which explains that the brain has surprisingly little ability to differentiate between a strongly imagined event and a real one.
Wait, I have to stop you there.
Go ahead.
If the brain can't differentiate between a real event and a visualized one, aren't we essentially just biologically tricking ourselves into success? That sounds like a placebo effect on steroids.
You are absolutely tricking your biology, but like in the most productive way possible.
Okay, how so?
Well, think about it. If you vividly imagine a stressful scenario, your nervous system doesn't know it's fake. It prepares for fight or flight.
Oh, right. Like when you just think about an argument and get mad all over again.
Yes, it releases cortisol, your heart beats faster, your palms sweat. Conversely, if you vividly imagine a serene setting, your nervous system calms down.
You are creating a physiological chemical change in your body just through imagery.
Precisely. You're essentially rehearsing reality.
Which reminds me of Olympic swimmer Michael Phelps. He used this exact principle. I mean, he won 23 gold medals.
A ridiculous amount of success.
And he attributed a huge part of it to visualization. But he didn't just visualize the crowd cheering or biting the gold medal.
No, he was way more strategic.
Yeah, he visualized the water, the strokes, and he specifically visualized things going wrong, like his goggles filling with water, and then easily overcoming those challenges.
That's the key right there. By visually rehearsing the disaster scenarios, his brain was physiologically primed to stay calm and win, no matter what actually happened in the pool.
Which perfectly illustrates Nafousi's first step. Be clear in your vision.
The secret here isn't just creating a mental picture of a sports car or a fancy job title. It is about immersing yourself in the physical, somatic feeling of having it.
The feeling is the important part.
Right. You have to emotionally experience the visualization to actually change your baseline neurological state.
Nafousi shares this incredible story of a client who was at rock bottom. She had no idea what she wanted her life to look like.
No specific job in mind, no dream house, nothing.
Right. So Nafousi guided her through a meditation and just asked, how do you want to feel?
Just the feeling.
Yeah, and the client realized she just wanted the feeling of waking up energized and hopeful.
That's powerful.
6 months later, by just focusing on manifesting that specific physical feeling, her career and relationships had completely transformed to match that energy.
Because clarity is the engine of this entire process. Nafousi is so adamant that you can't just slap a picture of a mansion on a vision board and call it a day.
No, she breaks this down into a holistic timeline. You need to map out your career, sure, but also your home, your hobbies, your personal development, your friendships.
It has to be a full 360-degree view of your authentic desires, not just what society or your parents expect of you.
Visualizing your desires is exactly like using a GPS. You wouldn't just type airport into your Maps app and expect it to guide you to the correct departure gate at the right terminal.
You'd end up lost in long-term parking.
Exactly. You have to be hyper-specific. And this ties perfectly into a piece of neurology we need to introduce here. The reticular activating system, or the RAS.
Oh, the RAS is fascinating. It's a bundle of nerves at our brainstem that acts like a literal bouncer for your brain.
A bouncer. I love that analogy.
It's true. At any given second, your brain is processing roughly 11 million bits of sensory information.
11 million. Wow.
If you were consciously aware of all of it, your brain would just short circuit. So your RAS filters that down to about 50 bits of information per second.
That is a massive drop.
It only lets in what it thinks is important to you. So when you get hyper-specific with your vision board and your emotional visualization, you are manually programming your RAS.
You are telling the bouncer, this is what matters, let this in.
Yes. And suddenly you start spotting opportunities, conversations, and resources that were always there, but your brain was previously filtering them out.
Okay, so you've programmed this neurological GPS, you've trained the bouncer, but none of that matters if your subconscious has its foot slammed on the brakes.
Right, the self-sabotage.
Let's talk about the invisible roadblocks we set for ourselves, the 95% of our brain that actively sabotages us.
This is step 2, removing fear and doubt. We do not manifest from our conscious thoughts. We manifest from our subconscious belief of what we actually deserve.
And as you mentioned, research shows that a staggering 95% of our cognitive activity is subconscious.
The stats on this are pretty wild.
They really are. The average person has about 60,000 thoughts a day. 80% of those thoughts are negative.
And over 90% are repetitive.
We're constantly running a negative, repetitive script in the background. But why? Why are our brains actively punishing us with negativity?
It comes down to evolutionary biology. Your brain's primary job isn't to make you happy or successful. Its primary job is just to keep you alive.
Right. Survival.
Exactly. For our hunter-gatherer ancestors, hyper-fixating on potential threats like the rustle in the bushes that might be a tiger that kept them alive.
Remembering where the poisonous berries were was way more important than remembering a beautiful sunset.
We have inherited a brain with a deep, deep negativity bias. Fear and doubt mask themselves as friends. They tell you they are protecting you from disappointment.
When really they are actively holding you back from abundance.
Yeah. And Nafousi gives a very vulnerable example of this in the book. For years, she held a subconscious, limiting belief that she would never be successful in her own right.
Right. She deeply believed she needed a wealthy, older man to provide financial stability for her.
Because she subconsciously believed she wasn't capable of earning her own money, she continuously self-sabotaged her career.
And sought validation purely through her romantic partners. It wasn't until she tackled that limiting belief that she actually started building her own empire.
Changing that deeply ingrained evolutionary wiring requires deliberate intervention. The text provides some very practical tools for this.
Like the language shifts.
Exactly. One is a simple semantic shift. Replace the word if with when. Don't say if I get the job, say when I get the job.
It sounds so small, but it's huge. And another tool is simply accepting compliments without deflecting. When someone praises your work, don't say, oh, it was nothing.
Just say thank you.
Changing those tiny vocabulary habits actively overrides that subconscious self-sabotage. Every time you say, I hope, or if, you are feeding your RES instructions of doubt.
But by shifting to when, You feed your brain empowering instructions.
But for people who are too overwhelmed by their inner critic to just, think positive, Nafousi suggests a physical exercise called the evaporating ball visualization.
Yeah, because trauma and anxiety are often held somatically in the body.
Right.
For someone paralyzed by self-doubt, trying to force a positive mantra like "I am wealthy" can actually trigger the nervous system to panic.
Because it feels like a lie.
Exactly. The evaporating ball technique circumvents that. You close your eyes, do some deep breathing, and visualize all your fears and insecurities gathered together as a heavy ball of dark matter in your chest. And with every exhale, you visualize breathing out that dark matter, watching the ball get smaller and smaller until it just evaporates.
You are giving your nervous system a physical release valve.
Yes.
Clearing those mental roadblocks is crucial, but it doesn't mean money is just going to magically fall through the ceiling while you watch TV.
Definitely not.
We have to introduce physical momentum.
This is step 3. Align your behavior. This is the crucial difference between the passive law of attraction, which got a lot of criticism for suggesting you just have to think good thoughts, and proactive manifesting.
You must show the universe, through your physical actions, what you believe you deserve.
You have to take action, and that action often requires stepping into serious, sweat-inducing discomfort.
The book explores the fake it until you become it strategy. There's an anecdote about a friend of Nafousi's who desperately wanted to be a life coach for men.
Right, he had the training, he was helping people in his spare time, but he was terrified to actually charge money or call himself a professional.
He didn't feel worthy of it yet.
So Nafousi asked him, if you were already a successful coach, what would you be doing right now?
And he listed things like setting up an Instagram page, creating daily content, reaching out to high-profile clients.
She told him to just do those things immediately. By acting as if he was already successful, he built an engaged community and hosted a massive expert panel within a single year.
Taking that kind of action triggers something intense in our psychology. I want to unpack this because when we try to change our habits, our subconscious actually fights back tooth and nail.
It really does. The psychology of self-sabotage is tied directly to how the brain conserves energy.
How do you mean?
Well, building new neural pathways requires a massive amount of metabolic energy. Your subconscious prefers your current reality, even if it's making you miserable because it's predictable.
It's efficient.
Yes. When you start eating healthier, setting boundaries, or taking career risks, your subconscious panics. It views this unfamiliarity as a threat and tries to pull you back into your toxic comfort zone.
Wait, let's unpack this. So when I start a new gym routine or launch a side hustle and I suddenly feel deeply uncomfortable and full of doubt, that's actually a sign it's working.
Yes.
It's just my brain panicking over the metabolic cost of unfamiliarity.
Precisely. That discomfort is the literal feeling of neuroplasticity in action. It is the friction of growth. You have to learn to sit in that discomfort until the new, healthy behavior becomes your new familiar.
To get through that initial panic, Nafousi borrows Mel Robbins' famous 5-second rule.
It's such a great tool.
It is. When you have an impulse to take a positive action, you count backwards. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and physically move before your brain has time to deploy fear and kill the idea.
Nafousi used this herself right before hosting her first ever self-love workshop.
She was standing backstage, completely paralyzed by imposter syndrome. Her inner critic was screaming that she was a fraud.
And she just counted 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, stepped out from behind the curtain and spoke.
Stepping out from behind that curtain is where the real work begins. Because once you start taking bold action and stepping out of your comfort zone, the universe is going to push back.
It wants to know if you are serious.
Exactly. This brings us to step 4 and 6. Overcoming tests and turning envy into inspiration.
Tests are essentially the universe, or your own deeply ingrained behavioral patterns, asking you, how much do you actually value yourself?
And they show up in wild ways. One of the classic tests is the X, reappearing right before you meet your actual soulmate.
Oh, that happens so often.
You've done the work, you've set your boundaries, and suddenly they pop up out of nowhere with a text message offering you that toxic, familiar comfort just to see if you'll settle.
Settling is the ultimate trap. There's a story in the text about a makeup artist who wanted to be signed by a specific highly respected dream agency.
Right.
He does the internal work, he takes action, and he gets an offer. But it's from a different, mediocre agency, not his dream one.
A huge test.
Huge. He had to make a terrifying choice. Take the safe bet out of fear that nothing else would come along, or decline it and hold out for his actual vision.
And he bravely turned it down.
He did. And 5 months later, His dream agency signed him.
Nafousi faced a massive test herself. When launching her podcast, she reached out to a well-known celebrity to be her first guest. The celebrity texted back a polite but firm rejection.
Ouch.
Yeah, Nafousi felt sick to her stomach, totally embarrassed. She could have quit right there. But instead of letting that rejection derail her, she reframed it.
She recognized it as a test of her resilience.
Exactly. She asked 5 more people, got 5 yeses, and a year later, the billboard for her podcast was displayed on 90 different advertising boards across London.
Which is incredible. And these tests reveal whether you are operating from a scarcity mindset or an abundance mindset.
Because settling for less or crumbling at the first sign of rejection means you secretly believe there isn't enough success or love or opportunity to go around.
You believe there's a finite pie, and if you don't take the crumbs, you'll starve.
And nothing breeds a scarcity mindset faster than social media, which is where envy comes in.
Right, step 6.
Nafousi tells the story of a woman in a coaching session who was dreading the weekends. She would sit at home, scroll through social media, and feel intensely jealous seeing everyone else out partying at bars and restaurants.
But when Nafousi gently probed and asked if she actually wanted to go out clubbing every weekend, the woman had a revelation.
She realized she genuinely loved her quiet weekends, ordering takeout, putting on a face mask, and waking up fresh for her Sunday running club.
She was letting social media make her envious of a life she didn't even want.
We've all been caught in that trap. But what about actual envy? When someone has exactly what we do want, how do we handle that?
Well, envy is essentially a low vibrational scarcity mindset. When you feel bitter about someone else's success, you are telling your subconscious, I'm angry they have this because I don't believe I can get it. You have to deliberately reframe envy as inspiration. View someone else's success not as a threat to your ego, but as tangible data. It is proof of concept that what you want is physically possible in the real world.
Okay, so we've covered setting the vision, clearing the fear, taking uncomfortable action, and passing the tests. But how do we maintain this abundance mindset when the world keeps throwing curveballs?
We have to use the highest vibrational tool available to us. Step 5. Embrace gratitude.
But specifically, gratitude without caveats.
Dr. Joe Dispenza's research highlights why this is so biologically critical. Practicing pure gratitude, appreciation, and kindness for just 10 minutes, 3 times a day, can strengthen the immune system by 50%.
That is insane. You are literally altering your cellular health with gratitude.
You are.
But here's the catch. We almost always attach caveats to our gratitude. We say things like, I love my job, but I wish it paid more, or I love my apartment, but I wish it had a garden.
We do this because we have a subconscious fear that if we are entirely perfectly happy with what we have right now, we will lose our drive.
Right. We think dissatisfaction is the fuel for ambition. It's a defense mechanism.
Exactly.
Adding a caveat to your gratitude is like putting a drop of bleach into a glass of fresh water. It completely ruins the entire thing.
I love that analogy.
Nafousi experienced this firsthand. During her pregnancy, before she had any money, she was living in her dad's incredibly run-down apartment in Waterloo.
It was not a glamorous situation.
No. It smelled bad. There was a hole in the door, mold in the bathroom. She was miserable and constantly complained about it. She tried to force gratitude, saying, well, it's good for now, I guess.
A massive caveat. She was still vibrating at the frequency of lack.
But then the COVID-19 lockdown hit. Suddenly, this flat became her total sanctuary. It was her home, her office, her safe space.
Because she had nowhere else to go.
Right. She dropped the caveats and genuinely fell in love with the space, feeling profound, true gratitude for simply having a roof over her head. And the very next day on a walk, her partner asked her to describe her dream home. She described an island kitchen with marble countertops.
And the day after that, she sees a friend on Instagram working out in front of that exact island kitchen.
She messages her to compliment the house, and the friend casually replies, "Want to buy it?"
The timing was a total anomaly, and the house was being massively undersold at a price she could miraculously afford. Pure, unadulterated gratitude unlocked the manifestation.
To build that kind of pure gratitude, the text suggests 2 daily tools. The first is a positivity journal. At the end of the day, you chronologically write down every single good thing that happened, from a good cup of coffee to a text from a friend.
Remember the reticular activating system we talked about?
The bouncer.
Yes, this journal is the daily workout for your RAS. You are actively training your brain's bouncer to hunt for the good.
The second tool is a profound semantic shift, changing I have to I get to.
Nafousi realized this in the middle of a brutal, exhausting cycle spin class.
She was sweating, miserable, just waiting for it to be over, and the instructor shouted into the mic, "You don't have to be here. You get to be here."
It hit her like a ton of bricks.
She didn't have to exercise. She got to exercise because she had a healthy body and the financial privilege to be in that room.
I have to work becomes I get to work. I have to buy groceries becomes I get to buy groceries. It instantly pulls you out of a victim mentality and into an abundance mindset.
No, we can't ignore the final piece of the puzzle here, which is step 7, trusting the universe. What happens when you do all this work? You visualize, you act, you practice gratitude, and the dream job still goes to someone else.
That is where surrender comes in. Manifesting isn't about micromanaging the timeline of your life.
Right.
Step 7 is about relinquishing your desperate grip on how and when things happen. If you don't get the job, trusting the universe means believing that rejection is actually redirection.
It means knowing that something better, something more aligned with your authentic self is coming.
Absolutely.
So what does this all mean? Let's bring this deep dive home. Manifesting, as we've learned today, isn't magic. It isn't wishing upon a star and waiting to be rescued.
It is the deliberate physiological architecture of your life.
It requires clarifying your exact vision to program your brain's filtering system. It requires evicting your subconscious evolutionary doubts, taking fearless physical action, even when your brain panics over the unfamiliar.
Holding your ground when you were tested with shiny distractions.
Yes, fueling the entire machine with radical gratitude and ultimately trusting the process.
It's a rigorous, active process of self-development. You are literally rewiring your neural pathways to align with the reality you want to experience.
Which leaves us with a final challenge for you, the listener. We want you to pull up your calendar for the rest of today.
Find that one tedious, frustrating task that you were absolutely dreading.
The meeting, the commute, folding the laundry. Now apply that language shift. Challenge yourself to figure out exactly how that specific task is actually a profound privilege that you just haven't recognized yet. How do you get to do it?
It changes everything about how you experience your day.
Because you don't just close your eyes and hope a life appears. You have to draw the blueprint, pour the concrete, and lay the bricks yourself. But now, you actually have the tools to build it.